You are about to build a private AI on your own computer that writes, debugs, and reasons almost like the paid tools you're using right now. It will run without an internet connection. It will never send a single line of your data anywhere. And by the end of this video, you will have it fully working, answering real questions on your own hardware. Here's the machine before we start. A normal mid-range laptop. Nothing exotic, no server room, no subscription. Watch what it does with a real coding question in a moment. The reason this works now and didn't really work a year ago comes down to one release. Google shrank a model that reasons close to a 26 billion parameter giant into a 12 billion parameter package that fits inside 16 gigabytes of memory. That's the gap that used to force people into paying for cloud access. It's closed now. The model reads text, images, and audio, and it was built for multi-step tasks, not just single replies. That combination is what makes it worth setting up today instead of whatever you were using last month. Quick thing before we get into the setup. Tap like on this one. Drop a comment with your GPU or RAM specs so I can tell you if this build fits your machine. And follow the channel. Now, let's build this. Start with the engine that actually runs the model. Download Ollama for your operating system from its official site. Install it like any normal application, and open a terminal window once it's done. Type a single pull command for the 12 billion parameter build and let it download. Depending on your connection, this takes anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, since the file sits around 8 gigabytes. While that downloads, let's talk hardware honestly, because this is where most people get stuck later. 8 gigabytes of video memory is your realistic floor for smooth responses. 12 gigabytes gives you comfortable headroom. If you're on a laptop with shared memory instead of a dedicated card, it still runs, just slower. And that's fine for testing. Once the download finishes, confirm the model loaded correctly by sending it a plain text prompt directly in the terminal. Ask it something simple, wait for a reply, and if you get coherent text back, the core engine is alive. Close that test, because from here on, we're doing everything through a proper interface instead of a bare terminal window. That interface is OpenWebUI, and it's what turns a command line tool into something that feels like a real chat application, with history, file uploads, and multiple conversations saved. Installing it takes one of two common paths. The fastest is a single container command if you already have Docker on your machine, which pulls the interface and connects it to your local engine automatically. If you don't want Docker, a Python-based install works too, using a package manager and a short set of commands from the official documentation. Either path gets you the same result, a local web address you open in your browser, usually on port 3000. Open that address, create your first local account since everything stays on your machine, and you'll land on an empty chat screen with a model selector at the top. Click it, and your 12 billion parameter model should already appear in the list because OpenWebUI talks to the engine automatically once both are running. Select it, and you're already live. Let's not waste this on a toy question. Here's a real one. Paste in a slow, badly written function, something with nested loops and no comments, and ask the model to explain what it does line by line, then rewrite it for clarity and speed. Watch how it breaks the logic apart before touching the code, explains the bottleneck, and only then rewrites it. That's not autocomplete behavior. That's reasoning through a problem the way a senior engineer would talk through it out loud. Now, before you get excited and start throwing giant documents at it, there's a mistake almost everyone makes at this exact stage, and it quietly ruins the experience. Context length. By default, the context window is set small to save memory, and if you paste in a long file or a long conversation, the model starts forgetting the beginning of what you told it, or the interface simply refuses to respond at all. People assume the model is broken. It isn't. Go into the admin settings, find the model configuration panel, and raise the context length manually to match what your hardware can actually hold. Push it too high on a machine without enough memory and everything freezes or crashes. So raise it in steps. Test after each increase and find your ceiling before you rely on it for real work. With that fixed, let's build something more useful than a single question. Create a new chat specifically for code review, and in the system prompt field, tell the model exactly who it should act as: a strict senior reviewer who flags security issues, inefficient patterns, and unclear naming, and who never rewrites code unless asked. Save that as a custom model inside the interface, give it its own name and icon, and now it lives permanently in your model list, ready anytime, with that personality baked in. Do the same thing for a second use case, something completely different, like a writing editor that tightens sentences and removes filler words without changing your voice. 2 custom personalities, same underlying engine, 0 extra downloads. This is the part that makes a local setup genuinely more flexible than most paid chat tools, because you're not limited to one fixed assistant. Let's push further into something most tutorials skip entirely: feeding it your own files. Inside OpenWebUI, there's a knowledge or document upload section. Drop in a PDF, a set of notes, or a folder of documentation, and the interface automatically breaks it into searchable chunks behind the scenes. Now, when you ask a question in chat, attach that knowledge base, and the model will search through your actual files before answering, instead of guessing from general training. Try it with something concrete. Upload a product manual or a technical spec sheet, then ask a specific question that only appears on page 40 of that document. If it pulls the right answer with the right numbers, your local retrieval setup is working correctly, and you now have a private research assistant that never phones home with your files. One more layer, since this model handles images natively. Upload a screenshot of an error message from your terminal or a photo of a whiteboard diagram and ask it to explain what's happening. It reads the image directly, no separate tool required, which is genuinely rare for something running entirely offline on consumer hardware. Let's talk about speed for a second, because response time is the other thing people quietly struggle with after setup. If replies feel sluggish, check 3 things in order. First, confirm the model is actually loading onto your graphics card and not falling back to your processor, which you can see in the resource monitor while it's generating a response. Second, lower the context length back down if you don't need the full window for that particular conversation. Third, close other heavy applications competing for the same memory. Fixing those 3 almost always solves it. Now, here's the detail that actually separates someone who installed this once from someone who uses it daily, so pay attention here. Set up a saved prompt template for your 3 most repeated tasks, whatever they are for you: coding, writing, planning, whatever you find yourself typing over and over. OpenWebUI lets you save these as quick access prompts, so instead of retyping instructions every session, you click once and you're already in the exact mode you need. That single habit is the difference between opening this tool twice and abandoning it versus it becoming part of how you actually work. I test new AI deals every week. If a new free method comes out, you'll see it here first. At this point, you have a fully working local AI, 2 custom assistants tuned for different jobs, a private document search system, image reading, and a workflow that doesn't rely on any outside server. Everything you built in the last 20 minutes runs the same way tomorrow, next month, and without anyone changing pricing on you overnight. Go test it on your actual work right now while it's fresh, and I'll see you in the next one.